Terry Pratchett is a fantasy writer and satirist who was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II for his work in fantasy. That is, Queen Elizabeth II realized that the work that Terry Pratchett was doing is not something that is relegated to simply a different world like Discworld, which is the setting for a lot of his novels, but rather it's a commentary on our world today. And that is something that fantasy for adults is typically doing. That is, it's a commentary on how we live, what's going on. And Queen Elizabeth II found this so significant, she gave Terry Pratchett a knighthood. So, go to this link here and figure out what kind of book in Discworld, because there are many books you should be reading. And I want you to think about how these online spaces allow us to interact with authors even after their death. So see, modern writers are not surrounded by the same kind of scholarship that you're going to see with earlier writers, right? Because there hasn't been generations and decades to build up that scholarship. But one thing they do often have are author pages. That is, online spaces dedicated to their writing, to their thoughts, and so you can get this firsthand knowledge of them that maybe you don't have with other writers in the same way. So go to this site here, the book generator, and see what book in Terry Pratchett's universe would be useful for you. And on that note, let's delve in. So Terry Pratchett gets so iconic, he's actually included in the Encyclopedia Britannica. And this is their summary of the color magic. So they highlight this wealthy two flowers tourism and the way he and the wizard Rincewind are moving through Discworld. Now, why does that matter? Why would Encyclopedia Britannica have a summary of a book, a fantasy novel, about a world that doesn't exist? Because it's a commentary on our world, right? So, one of the most obvious things that stood out to me is the way Discworld and Two Flower are a commentary on Americans and Americans abroad. So for your activity 3, I want you to think about how Two Flower, the tourist, right, this title, this label that he embraces enthusiastically, is a satire of all Americans on tourism anywhere in the world, right? And as someone who has been an American traveling abroad, I identify with this idea of the American tourist. So, Two Flower, he's oblivious, right? He's got a lot of money, and he's got this magic luggage. What is that saying about Americans? About American wealth, American privilege, and also about this stereotype that Americans have abroad. Because I don't know about you, but when I was traveling abroad, that was all I had. I was not a wealthy insurance agent who could just spend money willy-nilly. I was just barely making it, trying to get my research done at libraries that I needed to visit around the world. So how is this stereotype working against me? Is it putting me in a box? For activity 3, I want you to think about the way Americans are being characterized here, and about what the color of magic is saying about international politics and Americans from a British perspective. Because as we are thinking about culture and history in texts, thinking about how texts are portraying us from an outside view, us as Americans, I should say, it's a very significant part of that. So answer this question, respond to your peers, and I look forward to seeing what you write.